Greetings all you ghosts and ghouls, this is the Curious Raven. Today we're going to be following a little driving tour that stretches across the scenic countryside of Northern Berks County. What the pamphlet for this tour doesn't tell you is that it travels through several haunted locations as well as some places that have some local legends, and we'll be visiting some of these places along the way. Now, I am by no means an expert on hex signs, perhaps that could be a topic for another video, but if you're not sure what they are, let's briefly describe them. Hex signs are a form of Pennsylvania Dutch folk art. It's a tradition brought to the US by German and even some Swiss immigrants. Hex signs contains elements of symbolism, superstition, and folk magic. Some say maybe even some dark magic. They are often painted on the sides of barns like murals and for various reasons. Some believe the signs could bring material goods or make the rain start and stop. Others believe they can ward off witches and demons and other evil spirits. We'll go over that a little bit later. Some of the signs would have things like pomegranate for fertility, an eagle or a rooster for strength and courage, hearts and tulips for love and happy marriages. You could find disselfinks, which are birds for good luck and happiness. You may even find a unicorn, which would symbolize piety and virtue. And last but not least, the daddy hex, to keep away famine, plague, and all other evils of life. So, as you can see, there's a lot of depth associated with the hex signs, but it's time to visit our first haunted location. This first haunted location had a significant influence on me when I was just a kid. My dad had saw my interest in the paranormal, and we would do our own ghost hunting in places like Gettysburg, Cape May, New Jersey, and countless other abodes for the spectral world. It was at Kutztown University where I would develop a genuine curiosity about the paranormal. We attended a presentation by Ed and Lorraine Warren. They played audio of what they claimed were demons that they captured in castles in Europe. Some of the attendees that evening left feeling a little bit shaken, but I was enthralled by what I was hearing, and my curiosity in the paranormal never ended. During their time in Kutztown, they also investigated the paranormal claims of Old Main, and this is our first stop. Over the years, Kutztown University students and staff alike have shared their accounts of the many possible spirits walking the halls of Old Main, the most prominent being that of Mary. Numerous witnesses reported that she glides down the halls, going from room to room. Others have had personal items that go missing, only to show up again days later. There is one specific account that stands out from the others. It's from a student who attended college there in the late 60s. Their dorm room was on the 4th floor, and they heard footsteps on the floor above them. This wouldn't have been strange or unusual, but given the fact that the 5th floor was not only locked, but it was also chained shut, it raised their concern. They called security, who also heard the footsteps, and upon investigating found no one on the 5th floor. However, there was one peculiar finding. There were visible footprints in the middle of the dust-covered floor, far from any open door, window, or access point. So just who could this Mary be? The legends and rumors state that she was a student who ended her life after becoming pregnant. Some of those rumors state that she became pregnant by a teacher or professor. It seems through history that the facts have become quite muddled. Mary Snyder was indeed found dead in her dorm room. A newspaper account would say she died of too much study. However, the real cause of death was determined to be swelling of the brain. It was a Friday morning, June 26, 1895, when Mary was found dead in her dorm room. It was located on the 5th floor, right about the area where the footprints would be found many, many years later. The long driveway to Dreibelbis Farm is like passing through a veil of time, from past to the present. The main home is reported to be haunted by the spirit of a little boy named William Dreibelbis. It is believed that William died after falling from the 2nd story of the farmhouse. On many occasions, people have heard children conversing in the basement. One team of paranormal investigators ran in fear from the chicken house after an angry entity was heard rushing towards them. Now, I don't make any of this up, but talk about symbolism and running from a chicken house. As a paranormal investigator myself, I can assure you that I myself have never run from anything paranormal. But anyway, one person stated they left toys for William and would leave them in certain rooms of the home, only to come back a day or two later and see that they have moved to other locations in the house. If we were to go back in time a few hundred years, Witchcraft Road was a single-lane road. Legend states that horses would refuse to continue along the path, particularly after dark. The local farmers also found areas of the crest of the hill where crops were unable to grow. Furthermore, they would discover footprints going in circular patterns. So the superstitious Pennsylvania Dutch concluded that this had to be witchcraft. The witches were said to dance on the hill and summon demons. The area became known as Hex Sign, which translates to Witches' Dancing Hall. As a means of combating supernatural forces, local farmers would draw on folklore from their native countries. They would begin to observe Walpurgisnacht. According to German folklore, this was a day when witches gathered on Mount Brocken and summoned evil spirits. The farmers would call upon Saint Walpurgis, who was known to repel the effects of witchcraft. Christians would make noise and light bonfires to scare the witches and evil spirits away. Bonfires were often used to burn effigies, and sometimes it was an accused witch who was burned. However, no witch has ever been burned during these festivities in America. Apparently these worked for the farmers, because to this day, the crops are still growing well, but Witchcraft Road remains as a reminder of the past. Almost everyone knows the legend of Sleepy Hollow with its Headless Horseman. In Berks County, there is also a legend of a headless specter who may not have been a horseman, but a horse is involved with the story. During the winter months, when horse-drawn carriages turned into horse-drawn sleighs, this posed a particular problem for covered bridges. In order to resolve this problem, snow would be spread across the span of the bridge floor so that sleighs could cross. As one man brought his sleigh onto Dreibelbis Station covered bridge on one cold winter night, and only to find that the floor had not yet been covered with snow. As soon as the runners hit the wooden floor, the horse spooked and reared up, causing the rider to fall out of the sleigh and get tangled in the reins. When the horse jolted forward, the reins tightened, separating the man's head from his body. It has been reported that a headless ghost can be seen but is more often heard fumbling across the Dreibelbis Station bridge. The area around Hawk Mountain is one of the best spots in Berks County to view fall foliage. The mountainside also has a darker history. Along Hawk Mountain Road, you will find a small sandstone building. A plaque on the front reads that it was the site of Schembachs Tavern. Jacob Gerhardt built this house years after surviving a horrific attack by Native Americans, which left Jacob an orphan and left behind an indelible legacy. He built the home in an area that overlooks the location of the massacre. Years later, Matthias Schembacher and his wife took ownership of the home and turned it into a tavern for people traveling over the mountain into Schuylkill County. The rumors soon began to spread about Matthias and the many weary travelers who spent the night at the tavern, never to be seen or heard from again. One particular story involves a man who was selling Civil War uniforms and memorabilia in the area. He was last seen heading up to the mountain to Schembachs Tavern. The man would later be reported as missing, and several weeks later, Matthias would be found selling the same Civil War uniforms and memorabilia. Schembacher died in 1879 at the age of 55 after a mental breakdown. He is alleged to have made a deathbed confession to murdering at least 11 travelers in his inn, saying that he robbed and killed them and then chopped them up and put parts of them down a well and parts of them in the woods for animals to get rid of. The man claimed a voice whispered in his ear, ordering him to commit murder, and that he believed he was being controlled by something evil in the mountain. The New Bethel Union Cemetery in Kempton is where he is buried, not far from Hawk Mountain, and that is our next stop. New Bethel Church is a beautiful hillside cemetery. It is the final resting place of the world-renowned painter Ben Austrian, who specialized in realistic paintings of feathered animals. Also buried here is Matthias Schembacher, who we just mentioned. Legend states that Matthias Schembacher's grave was stolen. Others say that the cemetery removed his headstone to prevent curiosity seekers. The spirit of a young girl is also rumored to play among the tombstones on the top of the hill. Many have reported seeing various colored lights in the cemetery at night, along with a large shadowy figure with red eyes on the road running by the side of the hill. These aren't all of the legends and haunted locations in Northern Berks County. We will be exploring places like Crystal Cave, Bloody Springs Road, and the many hauntings of Hamburg, and many other haunted and curious locations. So if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe so you won't miss any upcoming content like the Curious Chronicles, which is going to be a series of videos where we touch on odd and unexplained events, strange and mysterious parts of history, and so many more things that we can rediscover along the way. Thanks for watching, everybody.